Hi, and welcome to Unit 8. The first thing that I want to do is take a moment to congratulate you on making it through the HTML and CSS basics content. So the first few units where we talked about HTML, and then we talked about CSS, and then finally the Bootstrap unit that we just completed, making it through all of that marks a pretty significant turning point in this course, where we're now moving to JavaScript. So starting in this unit and continuing for the rest of the course, we're going to be using JavaScript. And the general approach that we're going to take is we're going to start by stripping away HTML and CSS and actually putting that on the back burner for just a few units. We'll be picking it up very shortly, but to start, we're only focusing on JavaScript. So for the next few units, pure JavaScript. We won't be making the most beautiful, the most exciting real web applications, but we will be focusing on the most important components, the most important basic pieces of JavaScript that will help us make the really badass sites down the line. I'll take you back to one of the first lectures we did, the Introduction to Front-End lecture, where we talked about HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And we didn't really write any code. I showed you a little bit, but it was more about talking or introducing what they each do, what their respective roles are. One of the analogies that I mentioned is that HTML is often considered the noun or the nouns on a page. And CSS is the adjectives that are going in and styling or describing those nouns. And then the action or the verbs are JavaScript. JavaScript is really exciting, and it's by far the single most important technology that we're going to learn in this course, but also the most important technology out there in all of tech right now. By learning JavaScript, we open up a whole world of new possibilities for the things that we can make. We can make games, we can make full applications, Yelp clones, Twitter clones, Facebook clones, anything that you want, live chat, a drawing application, literally anything that you've seen in the browser, anything exciting, it's all done with JavaScript. Or almost all of it's done with JavaScript plus some HTML and CSS. And then once we finish talking about JavaScript on the front end, we're also going to be talking about Node.js, which is how we write JavaScript on the back end. And we haven't talked much about what that is and how it works, but what I want you to know is that it's the same JavaScript, the same language. So what you're learning in the next few units, we're going to talk about things like functions and variables and primitive data types. That carries over to Node.js as well. So really important, really foundational next few lectures. So this unit in particular focuses on some of the most important, the most fundamental concepts in all of JavaScript. And there are 5 main key objectives that we're going to hit. The first one is that I want you to be able to run JavaScript in the Chrome Developer Console. So we'll be able to open up the browser and just write some JavaScript and immediately evaluate it. The next objective is to talk about the 5 primitive data types in JavaScript. And not just talk about them, not just use them, but I want you to be able to explain and define the 5 primitive types and compare and contrast them all. So that's a really important piece that also ties into the next objective, which is for you to write code that defines and references JavaScript variables. So variables are really important parts of JavaScript. It's how we store little pieces of information. It's how we remember things and reference them later. So really important to pretty much every application out there. Variables are one of the most basic, most fundamental concepts that you have to master. And then once we finish covering variables and primitive data types, the last objective is for you to be able to use 3 built-in JavaScript methods. And those methods are console.log, alert, and prompt. So these are some built-in bits of code that will help you make applications, not quite applications, but they'll help you make things. They'll help you make little games and toys faster using some built-in code that the browser has already written for you. So that will make a little more sense once we get started. And the last thing that I'll add is that this unit is very exercise and activity heavy. So we're not making any killer projects, nothing that's going to really knock your socks off at all, but lots of important and fun and hopefully challenging challenges. The point here is to really hit hard how JavaScript works, really focus on the basics, so that when we get to those really fun things, when we're hooking up a database using Node.js, when we're creating a web server and writing templates, when we're creating games, when we're writing a clone of a website like Yelp, when we do that, you'll have a solid foundation and you'll be able to understand what we're doing. So it's not just about copying the code that you see me do. It's not just about reciting things and regurgitating things, but I really want you to understand and comprehend how things work. So let's get started. The first thing that we'll do is take a look at the Chrome JavaScript console.